Hey, what's up everyone? It's Christian with Reaper Disc, and today we're going to be taking a look at Discraft's flagship overstable distance driver, the Force. So the Force is a very overstable distance driver with flight numbers coming in at 12503. The Force is a wide-rimmed driver that is it's really overstable. It is pretty well said to be like the Zeus or Destroyer in flight, except with no high-speed turn, and maybe even just a touch more fade. Realistically, it is a great complement to discs such as that. This being something that you can lean on in really heavy wind conditions, or something that you need that extra little bit of stability, or you need to avoid any turn whatsoever. This is a great complement to your max distance driver in your bag, and we'll get into the flight and I'll show you exactly why. So on a hyzer release, the Force didn't have any flip, really, at least for me whatsoever. It pretty well held just this uniform hyzer line for the entire flight. Very controllable, didn't really get a lot of distance, but it's pretty overstable. I wasn't really, thinking I was going to get a lot of distance out of this disc. And truthfully, it's not really made for big max distance shots. It's made to be the complement to that max distance disc. This is what you lean on when you need overstability. And judging from this hyzer release, it's pretty overstable, so kind of checks that box. When released flat, it did fly straight for a good little bit of the flight. About halfway through, it did start kind of having a little gentle fade back to the left, and for a second, I actually thought that this was just going to have a really nice, slow, mild fade back. And then it started to slow down, and that low speed stability kicked in, and this thing hooked up hard. Like, it was flying straight, it started to kind of ease into a hyzer, and the moment it slowed down enough, that low speed stability kicked in and hooked it hard into a fade right back down into the ground. Now, when I released it on Annie, it did hold a turnover for about half the flight. Then it started to pan out and flexed very quickly right back into a really, really strong fade. This isn't something that's going to hold a lot of turnover, unless you throw it essentially on a roller angle, and then by which point it will probably just get back to flat and just pan back to the right. But for just general turnover purposes, this disc probably isn't going to hold anhyzer very well. It wants to flex out, it wants to fight back, and it wants to get back over onto a hyzer angle. Now, when throwing full power, it did have a little slight flip to it. And, I threw it really hard and I was able to get a little flip, but otherwise, it flew pretty well just like it did for the hyzer release. It maintained a good uniform hyzer angle the entire way across, maybe just went a little bit longer, but for the most part, it didn't really have any flip to flat or anything like that. Really, this disc is made to just be that overstable complement in your bag. Maybe not quite utility disc, like, having a tilt or a juggernaut or something stupid overstable. Instead, this is going to be just that complement to your max distance disc. The disc that you're going to want to pull out whenever it's really windy or you're trying to throw into a really stiff headwind. Something that you need to force over on the anhyzer, counting on it to flex out, or something that you need a power forehand shot for, this is going to be the disc that you're going to, reach for in your bag. All of that being said, this is not a beginner-friendly disc. This isn't anything that, beginner, low level, or even up to like that kind of intermediate level player should really be, pulling out consistently. If you do bag one of these as a lower level player, it's probably just for a utility disc, because without the proper arm speed, this thing is going to be insanely overstable. And there might still be a use for that as a utility slot, but not for anything consistently being used. Now, if you have the arm to really get on this disc, it will actually go a long way. Despite what I said, it doesn't go a long way for me. I like to think that I throw hard, but there are still a lot of people out there who can really put a move on a disc, and the force will really fly far if you have that top 1% of the 1% of power in this sport. Or if you get one, beat it in really well, then you could probably start getting some pretty cool flights out of it. But straight out of the box, this is going to be a super consistent, win-fighting, very reliable, overstable distance driver, which is exactly what it was made and meant to be. What do you guys think about the Force? Drop me a comment and let me know. If you want one for yourself, click the link in the description of this video to head over to reaperdisc.com. That way you can grab yourself one over there. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get to keep up with all of the new content we're putting out. And follow us on social media at Reaper Discs. You'll be able to keep up with all of our restocks and exclusive drops and everything else like that. Again, I'm Christian with Reaper Discs, and I'll see you guys in the next video.